Hello, hello, everybody. We are coming on here as soon as we can get our video up. Glad to see everybody. Welcome. And here we are. Hey! Hi, Mike.
Hey, John. How's it going?
I'm really good. I'm really good. And I'm really glad to have you here. And you know what, brother? I have to say, I'm just going to give you a off-the-cuff introduction because I don't have your bio here. So you're going to correct me if I miss anything. But I know from my heart, hey,
Okay.
everybody. Dan, wow, tons of people are just clicking in. Hey, great to see everybody.
Right on.
So we have an amazing guest today, Mike Shurko, who is just a beautiful being and who I've had the great pleasure of going to meditation retreats to, being a member of Agape together, and that we've been on this journey together. And you have such a broad spectrum of interests. You are a professional voiceover actor and teach voiceover, are a breathwork facilitator, and are growing that aspect of your spiritual growth and expression. You're a serious mover. You move your body, and so health and fitness are hugely important to you, and it shows. And you're a husband and a father. Like, okay, that's a resume right there. You got a lot of things going. And hi, everybody. I just want to acknowledge Eric and Marcel and Anthony and Peter and Desi and Rick and, oh my God, Tammy and David, and that goes on. Hey, everybody. Dan, welcome. And welcome, Mike.
Thank you so much, John. It's honestly great to be here. It's cool that we could reconnect in this way. As you were saying, we have a history, and you know, we've been to Agape meditation retreats together. We've done some practitioner sessions together, and honestly, it's been quite a journey since we first kind of touched base. So this is exciting for me to get to chat with you about this stuff. And yes, all my modalities, if you will, keep me busy. My kids, my career, my spiritual journey, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
Me too. So tell me a little bit about that journey. I'm really interested in how people, because we see it at Rythmia all the time. People have an awakening. They awaken to the potential of their lives, and now they're going back home and they're like, I see my purpose is to save the rainforest. I want to quit my job and move to Brazil. You know, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a movement from where you are currently to living the life that you love. It doesn't have to be logical, but it also can't be haphazard. And so I'm really interested to know how you moved from here's life, it was good, you had an awakening, and now how you got from where you were to here.
That is how much time do we have here? I'll give you the Cole's notes.
Okay.
Honestly, from the beginning, I'd say, 4 or 5 years ago, I started getting this kind of an inner impulse. I had been a part of the Agape community for some time, probably over a decade at that point, along with my wife, and just felt like there was something trying to emerge through and as me that wasn't yet known. There was almost like a stuck, trapped energy, and I didn't understand what that was, and it came across sometimes as impatience or anger or confusion or just not understanding what I needed to be putting my attention on. I had a great career, continuing to build. My family was complete with my second boy being born. But there was a sense of almost unfulfillment. It's hard to say that because my family makes me so happy, my job makes me so happy. But there was just a sense that something wasn't quite right, or that there was more. And that led me to my first meditation retreat, which was with Reverend Michael at Agape, and that was the catalyst of kind of shoving me off the edge of the spiritual journey. Because I had some incredible insights and things just were breaking down bit by bit. Years passed, I continued the journey. I became alcohol-free. I switched to a vegan, at least vegetarian, mostly vegan lifestyle. And this was all not intentional. This all kind of just happened and fell together. And I was led to plant medicine, which to me was, all the reading I'd been doing. I'd been reading dozens of books, and just feeling myself full of knowledge. And then it was like, okay, I feel like the next step is plant medicine. So I came to Costa Rica and I sat in ceremony, and, it wasn't what I was expecting as far as the bright light, perfect, clear vision. It was a little bit rougher. It was a little bit like, holy, can I swear?
Yes, you can, baby. Fuck
holy
yeah.
shit. It was a holy shit, what's going on? And from that moment, when I got home, things between my spouse and I got very, not discontented. There was just a big upheaval in the structure of what was. And this was based on me changing, I believe, and also a sense of her feeling like I'm changing, so she's losing me. You know, there's a whole aspect of what I feel, you know, all relationships create dynamics. And I feel that sometimes those dynamics can supersede the individual, to the point where you consider those aspects before you even consider your own. So I feel it's almost a potential form of distraction, to where you're more worried about saving the relationship than actually listening to your heart and following your own path and journey.
Like there's an idea of, like the idea of the relationship itself becomes more important than the actual content of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in order for us to individually grow and heal from all that we need to, there needs to be, you know, almost a disintegration of the enmeshment of what has been created.
It has to be broken down. I have to share with you, there's a comment,
Yeah.
Eric, that goes, holy shit, this is my story. And Amanda's listening too. Just want to let you
know. Okay, good. We'll keep it spouse rated. No, I'm kidding. Amanda, you're the best.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
And so it was the total breakdown of what my reality was. And ultimately, we had discussed this very early on in our practitioner sessions. Was very profound words that stuck to me, is that in order for something new and better to emerge, the old needs to dissolve and fall away.
Absolutely.
And that's so powerful, but to actually live that dissolution is another story than just saying it. You know, and that's basically what happened over the next 2 to 3 years, where there was just continued spiritual practice. There was continued acknowledgement, growth of observation. You know, I have a very solid meditation practice, more so lately in the last few years, breathwork practice, and just continuing to fellowship. I believe with like-minded individuals is huge. To have a support group, especially if you don't have anyone to talk to, it's pretty difficult, especially when the only person that you would talk to is that person that you need to kind of figure things out about.
Recalibrate. Yeah. It's a classic story, Mike, because we consider ourselves fixed and we consider other people fixed. Like, oh, I know that's the way he or she is. That's where my brother is. That's where my boss is. That's where my coworker is. And we also think our own emotional states are fixed as well. So the realization of the dynamic growth and expansion that really each day we're born anew, and we've died to something old and being born anew. And if we could bring that recognition that the person that we're waking up next to is new also, and that we're new and there's something undiscovered, I mean, that's a beautiful place to be. And it sounds like that's where you and Amanda got to.
It's still a work in progress, of course. We're still learning and growing each other every day, but I do feel an expansion of a more supportive and understanding role. And I do believe that even in the being new again every day, that's where the choice lies. If you're going to participate in the creation of something new, or if you're going to allow your old patterns to just pull you back in through, so it's another day the same way. Right. And I'm not saying that, like, there's always that difference between where you are now and where you want to be.
Yes.
And I've felt at times, you know, frustration or anger, because I'm like, why am I not fixed yet? Why am I not a Zen being that can handle any sort of situation, circumstance, and be totally centered and present? But it's taken coming to peace with what is and accepting what is. Yes. And observing what is. And that's, you know, such a huge part of it. Is so much of it I didn't even know what was going on in the subconscious. There's so much workings going on, you know, from childhood patterns, from just habitual behaviors, compulsive behaviors. Yes. Of addiction, so much that even, you know, consciously choosing to try and work towards waking up, there's so much to go through, and that created frustration. But then it also finally opened up to the point where that journey is the goal, the reward. You know, there's no there's no endpoint in this life. I believe there's always going to be a chance to progress or evolve or to.
We are expansive. We are by nature, and the universe itself is expansive, right? And what I love what you're saying is, not to an extent, but the truth is that the very things that seem to be your obstacle, the very things that you were like, why am I not this? Why haven't I arrived here? All of those issues that are coming up are exactly your curriculum. I want to acknowledge another gentleman, Peter, just said, this is my story, almost word for word. Wow. So people are really identifying with this. I'm sorry you can't see all the comments that I can see. So I'm interjecting on occasion.
I appreciate you sharing that and acknowledging.
And everybody, thank you, Tom, for your comments, and everybody, Desiree. But this to me has been a huge piece of understanding that the obstacle is the way, right? The very things that are challenging us, that seem to be blocking us, are the fuel for the next stage of our growth and development. And that they're specifically for us. If you had my problems, you'd be like, I wish I had mine back. And it'd be the same thing, because your problems are your curriculum. Your issues are your curriculum. Mine are my curriculum, and we need them it's like a perfectly designed system, right? That the very things that are coming up to be challenges are the very things, like we say in plant medicine, that are seeking to be healed. Mm-hmm. And what's coming is going, right? What's coming up isn't coming to glom onto us. It's coming up to be healed and released. Yeah. So I interjected in the middle of your story. Will you?
No, that was absolutely profound and very, very important to the whole aspect of things. And where should I pick it up? To today, I guess I could say. I'm 3.5 years sober, and I have grown into an individual who of greater understanding of what presents itself in the day, like you were saying, the obstacle being the way, but even the emotions, the discomfort, the challenges that come up throughout the day, even emotionally or circumstantially, is not a test, but it's your opportunity to kind of observe and, okay, this is what happens when I feel that trigger, and then there's the reaction and grabbing a sense of, okay, this is a completely unconscious pattern that I've never seen before, or this is where I can interject my intentional choice, or this is where I circle back in an intoxicated state, because as we know, emotions and reactions become chemicalized in the brain, where it becomes a state of intoxication. So not only are you not fighting, but challenging your thoughts, but you're literally challenging your body too, because your body has become that subconscious mind.
Talk to me more about, I think a lot of people have this understanding today of how thoughts can become chemicalized in the body, how those addictive patterns can actually, but I'd love to hear your understanding of it and kind of explain how you came to that realization.
I'm definitely not a scientist or a chemist, but I do feel that I've, received inspired wisdom. And what I would say about the chemicalization of emotions and reactions is that, our bodies are built, we are creatures of habit.
Yes.
And, 90 or 95% of, the body's functioning is unconscious. And that's like, your heart beating, your organs doing their thing. But then it also comes down to, if something triggers a certain thought, that can begin production of a chemical, which can, being creatures of habit, our bodies seek the same. They seek the pattern. They seek to become efficient in whatever it is that is growing and presenting. And even if that addictive behavior, that compulsive behavior, is something that you would see as negative, like perhaps self-doubt or self-loathing or anger or any sort of emotion like that,
Lack,
that
fear,
is not supportive.
Worry, doubt, any of those
absolutely
become addictive.
Even though if you put it on paper, you're like, no, I don't want to feel fearful. I don't want to feel anxiety. I don't want to feel anger or impatient. But it feels to the body, becoming more efficient, it feels more comfortable to embrace that chemically pleasing fulfillment of the addictive behavior.
And it's pleasing because it's familiar.
Yes.
Can I share something with you?
Yes, please.
I just went camping up in Ojai this weekend, and I had a deep realization while peeing in the woods in the middle of the night. But it's about this very thing, right?
Okay.
So, I was camping with some friends, but they were sleeping in their car, and so that when at night after we said goodnight and it's time to go to bed, I'd go to my tent and they'd go a good quarter mile away to where their car was to sleep in their car, and so I was kind of out there alone. Cool, and you get up in the middle of the night and it's California bear country, right? And it's dry. It's the end of summer, and we're cooking good food. So I'm being careful. So you get out. It's like 3:00 in the morning, and you are. Somebody just said you were live streaming in the woods, right here. That's hilarious, man. Indeed. So I get out there, and I'm on high alert. Right? It's dark. The moon is starting to set. Clouds are up, but there's trees and high grasses, and it's dark, and you can't see anything. So I'm like, pee and get back in the tent. Come on, and
hurry up,
right? And I'm in this mindset of something's possibly going to go wrong. There's something out there. Something goes bang in the night, right? And when I caught that old habitual protective pattern, right? It's not like it's a bad pattern. It's a protective pattern. We don't know what's out there. Do your business and get back in because it's safer in the tent, whatever. So,
right. It's very thick canvas,
right? So, and once I caught that old pattern, it was like, oh my God, look at the night sky in the middle of this. We were isolated. There was nobody around. Amazingly, the moon was setting, and there was a certain slant of light that hit the high late summer grasses populated by sycamore trees and coastline oak. This magnificence that was available, the beauty that was available. And I saw how many other places in my life am I preoccupied by the possibility of something going wrong, where I'm actually looking for something to go wrong as a means of protection. And in that, I miss the beauty and the infinite possibility of each moment that's bright with potential, right? Which is what I think you're talking about, right? That these habitual patterns come in, and they're not necessarily bad; they're protective, but they tend to take us out of being present in the present moment and being available to observe the possibility that's in the present moment.
And I'd say protective, as the personality is, oftentimes. Yes, a fear is healthy based on, a bear in the woods or, getting chased by a cougar or something like that. But these fears become not real. It's fear of judgment. It's fear of failure. It's fear of not living up to the expectation. It's, these fears that aren't really life-threatening, but for some reason they've grabbed onto the same fight or flight state that snap you into these survival modes of the personality, because it does not want to experience something that's new. I believe it's Reverend Michael that says the ego thinks that anything past what it knows is, or what does he say the word? It's basically the abyss. There's nothing. It ends. It's over.
Right.
There's
the ego
sheer
doesn't
terror
know exactly.
lives on the other side.
Annihilation. Fear of annihilation.
Annihilation. Yeah. But the beauty of it is becoming, so many of us, desire change and evolution and growth and letting go of old patterns. What we need to embrace is that unknown, because we can't experience a new reality continuing to think the same thoughts, feeling the same feelings, and taking the same actions. So it's embracing that unknown that to the ego, to the personality, is sheer terror.
Yes.
So it's finding the modalities that can shift you into an understanding of, okay, now I get what's trying to happen here, what's trying to emerge, how to stay in that state of right in the line between the body, the personality thinking sheer terror, and actually pure growth of potential, like the unfolding of your excellence.
Beautiful. So you got you were able to navigate this in a way that allowed you to begin to express more of your gifts and talents in an area that's really exciting for you.
Yes. More recently, in the last few years, I found the practice of breathwork, and this specific practice. I know there's dozens and dozens of different types of breathwork, but I call it a 3-part conscious breath, and it's literally 3 parts, continuous breathing loop. There's musical background, there's verbal guidance, but what I found is that, in plant medicine ceremony, the way I can explain it is that there's a separation between, the framework of who it is you are as a human being, and experiencing life itself unfiltered, and just the sense of what life is. And I think that the human emotion that closely relates to life itself is love. I think that's the vibration that closest matches what life is itself, the creation of life itself. And what I found in breathwork, which is, to me more accessible. I don't live in Costa Rica, availability.
The breath is always there, baby. The breath is always there.
Obviously, it's not. It's much more susceptible to your influences, whereas plant medicine can be a little more persuasive and calling of surrender.
I don't even want to say that. I'm just going to interrupt you and say, at Rythmia, we've had people have equally as profound experiences in breathwork as they did in ceremony. It's a powerful modality. There's no need to say it's not as like that. That's not true, man. I think breathwork is a key tool in our spiritual gig bag, just like I think plant medicine is. But I think breathwork is equally as powerful. I don't see it as being a second in any way.
I do agree. I just to try to contrast it, because to me it's not the same experience, but it can result in a very similar outcome where it's creating that space between the personality and life itself. And there's that gap where you can kind of view your divine wisdom, connect to divinely guided intention, and experience life without the weight and worry of a busy mind trying to distract all the action.
I received some direction from a brilliant teacher, and he said, when you go to bed tonight, all I want you to do is put aside everything that's not who you are, who you really are. And he said, think about the body. By the time you're 75 years old, you have consumed like 1,600 tons of food. So where did that all go? You're not carrying 1,600 tons. So obviously our body is taking in things from the outside and making itself. So our body isn't us. The body's like food, that's stuff from the outside, externally, that's creating this. And our mind, our personality, our thoughts, that's not us. Who we are is this eternal being. So his instruction was, keep putting aside, keep taking off what's not really you. You, who you really are at the core. I thought that was such a beautiful instruction, because it gets to what you're talking about, that these thoughts, these patterns, these old habituated modes of being aren't us. And the breath helps to give us a guide to get to the truth of who we are, which is infinite potential and love.
Yeah.
And so much other stuff.
Oh, there's so much there to unpack. It's just, it's important though to continually affirm who it is we are, because it is so easy to get caught up in the to and fro of the day to day, and just another day goes by and you're like, oh, where was my attention? Where was my intention? I didn't carry it with me. Joe Dispenza says this great thing where at the beginning of a day, just write down 3 or 4 things that you want to remain aware of and conscious of throughout the day. And I think that's so important, because even, as myself, I consider myself a striver. I try to go for it full-heartedly, and I still fall down. I still get caught in my patterns.
Yes.
I still have experienced feelings of self-limitation, where I don't believe I'm worthy of whatever it is entering my life, or what could enter my life, or what I'm desiring more of in my life, or the vision of what my life is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all about the practice, and breath work is something accessible. I think it's an amazing modality, along with meditation, and we can get into it later, the diet and exercise as well. All these are like your tool belt to keep you conscious in those moments, so that you have that lifeline when you're in those states of intoxication that are trying to pull you back down.
It's so, and I love what you're speaking to is this combination, right? I feel very keenly that the connection between diet and exercise and movement and psychology, and basically we're talking about neuropsychology and the habitual patterns that are triggered by neural pathways. You brought up Joe Dispenza and like all of that, and performance. You said you're a striver, right? So you've got diet and nutrition, neuropsychology, our practices, movement, meditation, breath work, prayer, fellowship, study, service, all of those things, and how all of that relates to performance, how we show up in the world. So tell me about how all of those things fit together for you. A little bit about your practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are very, very important to me. It all starts at the base with pillars that create the quality of your energy. And I believe that the number one, I'd say top three things. Yeah. Number one, I think, is diet. Because it doesn't matter how rested you are, if you're eating, processed foods that are low energy, high sodium, high sugar foods that, knock down your immune system, that drain your energy.
You can't even exercise your way out of a bad diet.
Exactly. So that's key. And sometimes it feels bad eating good food because you have that craving of whatever, that stimulation of that tasty high sodium or high sugar food.
Yeah.
So that can feel impossible to make a good choice sometimes. So then along with the diet is also rest. I think rest is critical. I've noticed it personally in my own life. I oftentimes will work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 a.m. So that means I'm getting up at 4:20, 4:30. And if I don't get enough rest and that accumulates, the ability to stay aware and make the choices, the intentional choices, becomes harder and harder, I find.
Absolutely.
So you got diet, you have rest, and then you have, I guess you could say, exercise or body movement or some sort of modality to boost your state, because exercise itself, it creates tonic chemicals within your body. Yes. That also energizes you, that elevates your mood. It boosts systems in your body that are highly energetic.
Yes.
And I've also found that, say for example, I had a friend who broke his arm, but within a couple of days he was squatting, he was deadlifting heavy weight, because obviously not on his arm, but sorry, he wasn't squatting. I think he was leg pressing. Mm-hmm. So creating that healing environment, when you break down the muscles, your body obviously puts all those hormones and chemicals into repairing. It also puts it into the rest of your bloodstream too, right? It's not specific to whatever body part you're working out. So that just creates a healing environment. But I always feel, the hardest moment is to make the choice. I've woken up so many times at 4:30 just being like, you know what?
Right? Not today.
I don't need this. I could do it tomorrow. But it's in that moment when you try to talk yourself out of the modality that's going to boost your mood and make you feel better. It's easy to talk yourself out of that.
So easy.
Don't ask me why. That seems easy. But if you can short circuit those patterns trying to express, those limiting, low vibrating patterns trying to express, that I think, softens the addictive pull to do the opposite the next time.
I think there's something really interesting. I mean, everything that you said was really interesting. So I don't mean to be like, there was one thing in there that was interesting. The rest of it was shit. No.
The rest kind of sucked.
But what I wanted to say was that idea, and I've heard this before, And I want to say bye, Peter. Peter said he has to go, but he
Bye,
really
Peter.
loves this and he wants to watch it later. So right on. Thanks,
Awesome.
Peter.
Go, Peter.
And Gerda, thank you for agreeing. But I think of it like priming the pump, right? Like when you are a mover, when you move your body regularly, like you said, you're breaking down the muscles, they're being rebuilt. The systems of renewal in your body are already primed and ready to go, right? That your body, those systems don't have to ramp up, right? But if you smoke, and there's nothing wrong with smoking, there's nothing wrong, but like let's say you smoke, you don't eat well, you don't move your body, and you're fine. You go to work, you do your stuff, your life's fine. But then something happens. You break something, you sprain something, you get an illness. The systems of rejuvenation and replenishment and revitalization in the body aren't online. And so my assertion is that somebody who is moving their body regularly has those systems online, they're going to heal faster from an injury, from an illness, than someone who isn't, simply because those autonomic systems need to prime, right, to get ready. So I think what you were saying is so important around the consistency of that movement.
Yes. And on top of that, talking about a healing environment is that, yes, the body itself and the systems, but also the mind creates an environment as well for a state of healing. If you believe that you have the ability, like what I've found, what's ringing true to me is that the body, the vehicle that we have in this life, is just meant to do its thing. It's meant to heal. It's meant to do its thing and just be healthy. It's meant to do that. And under I'm not going to say perfect conditions, because there is no such thing as perfect conditions, but if you continue to expose your body to a healthy mind, a healthy diet, a healthy regimen of practices, then the body will inherently at least try to heal itself.
This is the thing. Our body is a self-regulating, self-healing organism. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you 100%, except one thing.
Okay.
So I guess 99%. No. I agree with you that our mindset is important, but it's more than just an affirmation from the lips or a thought from the mind. That we must have no contradiction. We can't speak or think something, but in our hearts feel differently. There has to be a unification. So I can't be like, all right, I have an illness right now, and thinking I'm gonna this isn't really, I'm not really sick, right? When like I'm sick, I don't feel well, right? It's not just about saying I'm not sick, everything's fine. That's a bypass. But when we can bring our thoughts, words, and deeds in alignment, then our word is productive. Then our thoughts are productive to that very thing you're speaking of, is the mental atmosphere. And so I think another interesting piece about your practices that I want to ask you is those practices that help you lift your mind above confusion on a daily basis. Obviously breathwork, obviously movement. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your other practices that keep you lifted in that mental environment.
As far as, like, besides those basic ones that I practice, or do you want me to speak of all of them?
Well, you kind of shared a little bit about breathwork and your movement. I'm sure, is there meditation? What's your fellowship like? What's your study? Who are you studying with? That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Meditation is by and far the most fundamental to me. I've always said that meditation is my anchor and breathwork are my wings, where it keeps me grounded. I can tell if there's been a period of time where I haven't meditated, even if it's only 10, 15 minutes in a day. I can tell, because just like rest, I feel like there's an internal battery that is always refilled with rest. I also feel that there's another battery for meditation, and not only does it, the science and art behind it, but just creating a state of awareness of what is going on in your mind, creating some space and moments between thoughts or around thoughts. It's another energy source that I can sense when it's not full or being filled on a regular basis. And, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. When I first started practicing, I was like, okay, I need to do it for at least 60 minutes. I need to do the proper ritual. I need to wear my mala beads, and I need to light the right candles. It was very much I have to do this the right way. That's the striver side of me. I'm going to do the best meditation,
Right.
the best meditating. But what I've found in my practice over the years is that sitting, closing your eyes, 5 minutes, watch the breath. The practice is more important than the perfection. The perfection doesn't exist. Just doing it, even if it's for a few moments, has the power to influence your whole day. And that is by and far my most important practice.
Love that. I agree. I agree. I'm amazed. We're coming to the end of our time here pretty soon, and I haven't gotten to half the questions I wanted to ask you.
Well, tell me to shut up then.
No. This has been great. This is amazing. So great to talk to you. But what I'd love to do is I do have 2 questions for you. One, are you a reader, and what are you reading right
now? When I first entered this pull, this dive, this journey, I read anything and everything. I read, probably half the books on your wall. I got into the Bhagavad Gita. I read the Seed of the Soul several times. Gary Zukav.
Great book.
Eckhart Tolle, his first and second books, unbelievable. Ernest Holmes, so many books that he has. Even more earlier on, I read some David G. books. He has a lot of really interesting perspectives and practices of meditation itself.
Mm-hmm. There's
a great book called The Secrets of Meditation, which was kind of a beginning, that along with Reverend Michael at Agape. Now it's more into what's evolved is that I'm reading less. I don't know if it's due to time or focus, but it's more about specifics. Like I've found through a breathwork practice actually that I carry a lot. I grew up in a home that there was conflict, from the caregivers, and I've found that I've been trying to conceal that. I've been trying to hide that, and not allow that feeling to come up. As we discussed before, it has to come up to be released. I wasn't allowing it to come up, and through a breathwork class, I realized. It sounds so silly just to have a thought, but when you have a thought that feels so true to yourself, just like any realization or aha moment, it was I carry a lot of anger with me, and I'm not allowing it to move. And so
wow, huge.
So versus reading, I found like if something's inspiring me, I actually read I'm reading an anger management book. I started reading a book about mental capacity because I believe that I've brought upon myself a type of, I'm going to try to put this correctly, like self-induced forgetfulness. Like I believe that I forget the term. I'm reading up more on it, but it's basically I've shut off parts of my childhood. I don't remember much of my childhood, but it's been a protective modality.
Right.
And now I'm starting to. I was fearing that. I'm like, wow, like I have a horrible memory. How am I supposed to talk to people when I'm, presenting or doing a breathwork class or trying to run a meditation? How do I get these ideas out of my head when I'm forgetting everything, in the moment? And so I thought that I had an issue. So I started reading this book, but then I realized the more that I was in alignment with my truth, my voice through this practice, the more I was accepting of the moment that, yes, I carry anger and that's okay. And I'm becoming more observant of it. The books have kind of taken a side stance, and the practice has taken more of a fore stance to where I'm heaven bent on trying to get over myself. And I feel I know what I need to do, but I just have to do it. As far as fellowship, I feel like I could expand that. I would love to talk to you every day if possible. I watch Agape on the weekends. My wife and I have wonderful, open-hearted conversations about life, about goals, about family, about everything. Beyond that, I don't have a ton of regular support, which I am actively seeking. But I find that it is very important to create that community which I found at Agape and with individuals like yourself.
Yeah.
Even digitally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's still a connection that's very key. I had, because of COVID, my assistant at Rythmia, we talk all the time, and we're video chatting or FaceTiming or talking on the phone because we're working, right? But we haven't physically been in the same place. And I saw her this weekend for the first time in like 6 months, and we both went, I feel like I talked to you all. I feel like I don't feel like there's any difference, but this is the first time in 6 months that I've physically seen you.
Wow.
So I say that by way of saying that the digital piece is truly a miraculous gift that we have now. All right, last question.
Yes.
And I'll give you two. You can choose which one.
Okay.
All right. So they're kind of my end questions that I always do. The first one is, if you were in my shoes, what question would you ask that I haven't? So you can do that one, or tell us something that you want us to know. It doesn't have to. It could be about yourself. It could be about the airspeed velocity of an unladen African swallow. It could be, like some piece of information that you want to share with us. So you could do one or the other, because sometimes people get stuck on one. So I'll give you the option. Which one do you want to answer?
I want to tell you something. I want to remind individuals, viewers, and listeners that to work on themselves to build that self-love. Because honestly, I have two analogies that I don't have to, I can quickly skim through. It's just basically, if you can fill yourself up, if you can keep yourself in alignment with your purpose, because I believe we're all here on purpose with a purpose, and whether or not, varying degrees of how much we're actually enacting and involved with that unfoldment and sharing, there's always a level of self-belief that I think is very important, that will protect you and hold you through each moment, knowing that each moment is the universe helping you evolve. Because there will be moments of resistance, there'll be moments of challenge, there'll be moments of tragic proportion that can occur in people's lives, and surpassing human logic and intellect, feeling unfair or frustrating or whatever the case may be. And I'm not speaking of anything in particular. I'm speaking of just people's stuff that they go through on a day-to-day basis in life as a human.
Yeah.
Knowing that there is a pathway seeking to be found in every moment, and that it's important for you to do the work to become aware of those moments, because you are an absolutely 100% unique and fully needed individual. You need to be you right now. And I know it's been said a million times, but now more than ever, because I feel that the world is waking up. I feel that the grime and the goop is working itself up to the surface to be burned off globally, macro level, micro level. And we all have the power to be our own supporters. And the analogy is the bird landing on the branch. The bird doesn't worry about the strength of the branch that it lands on, because it believes in its ability to fly, in its wings. So if you create within yourself an inner love and inner strength and inner knowing and trust with whatever that is, whether it's the universe, God, yourself as an individual, whatever it is, that can carry you through every single moment, knowing that there is a learning opportunity, knowing that this life is precious and sacred, yet short, and we're here to learn. We're not here to live a challenge-free life. So just embracing what is and going forth with that knowing.
Beautiful.
And that's so many words, and I'm sorry if that wasn't clear.
No, it was beautiful and heartfelt and authentic and real. And I just want to thank you. I want to recognize also, there's nice comments coming up. People are saying how beautiful your breathwork class is. So I want to say, check out, it's MikeShurko.com, right?
MikeShurko.com/breathwork.
Perfect. And there's information. So Mike Shurko, the voiceover actor and teacher. Mike Shurko, the breathwork teacher. Mike Shurko, the plant medicine journeyer. Mike Shurko, the father. Mike Shurko, the husband. We just thank you so much for bringing all of you to this interview today, and for being who you are. And I'm so grateful that that our paths cross, they'll continue to cross, brother. I'm so thankful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, and I'm beyond grateful. So thank you.
My pleasure.
And thanks to everyone who's here, commenting, listening, watching.
Yes.
You guys are the best. Put in the work. You guys got this. You're all here on purpose with a purpose. So.
Woohoo! Love it. On purpose with a purpose. Thank you, Mike. All right, everybody.
No problem, JJ.
Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, Jerry's doing his Facebook Live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. You always want to catch those words of wisdom. And I'll be back Thursday with Walking the Path. And between now and then, I trust and know that your life is a continuous adventure permeated by unshakable joy. All right. Peace and blessings. Thank you, everyone.